done the top two layers, and now we're going to solve the bottom layer. So when you start with the bottom layer, you want to start with the corners. In this case, this corner is in the right place and oriented the right way. Perfect. This corner is in the right place, but not oriented the right way. This corner piece is not here, not in the right place, because it's got green on it, and green is over here. This piece has blue, and blue is over here. So these two pieces need to be swapped. Okay, these two are in the right place. So you pick the two that need to be swapped. Now remember, this is the bottom of the cube. So even though we're solving the bottom, we still put it down on the bottom, and the two pieces that need to be swapped are on our face, on the front of the cube. This is our face now, right? White's still on top. So swap these two. This is the pattern that you do. Now they are all in the correct location. Okay, they just need to be oriented now. This one's correct, but the rest are not. When you're putting the bottom cubes, the bottom corners into place, there are two scenarios you can run into. One of them is the one that we just solved, where those two side by side need to be swapped. And the only other alternative is that sometimes you run into where they're diagonal from each other. So in this case, this one is in its correct place, and this one is in its correct place. But that one and that one need to be swapped. So, if you need to swap diagonally, you hold them in such a way that, this being the bottom, one here is at the, when you look at the front of the cube, okay, if this is the bottom, and these two need to be swapped, you put the diagonal pattern from the top left to the bottom right, and this becomes the front of the cube. Alright, so when looking at it from the front of the cube, one of the ones that need to be swapped is down here at the bottom left, and the other one is way back here in the back bottom right. Okay, so make this your face, and then this is the pattern you do. It's very similar to the other one, except in the very middle, instead of turning the bottom once, you turn the bottom twice. So now the bottom corners are all in the right place, and two of them are oriented the right way. So the next step is to make all four of the bottom corners oriented the right way. When it comes to orienting the bottom corners, you're going to have to memorize 5 different patterns. The steps to solving them are identical, but you will have to repeat that step up to 3 times. And if it takes longer, then you weren't holding them in the right place. So up to 3 times if you hold them in the right place. So in this case, this is one of the patterns. Just ignore the edge cubes, just look at the corners. Right, so in this case, we have these corners not only in the right place, they're the correct orientation. Okay, so whenever you see this pattern on the bottom, always run it so it goes from bottom left to top right. Imagine a diagonal line, just like that. When you're looking at it like that, rotate it down, and this becomes the face of the cube. There's the top, face, bottom. Right, so when you see this pattern, you always hold it in this way, and you do this algorithm. And then you check and see what pattern you have on the bottom. Okay, so this is another pattern you can have. Ignore these edge pieces, just look at the corner pieces. Okay, so the last one I showed you had 2 of them diagonal from each other. Whenever you have just a single corner piece in place, you always put it, when you're looking at it from the bottom, you always put it in the top left. Right? So it's simple as that. Corner piece, top left, rotate it down. This becomes the face of the cube for this algorithm. And you do the exact same algorithm. Again, as long as you hold it in the right place, everything will be fine. Then you look at the bottom, and you'll see that we still have one piece up in the corner. Right? Now, what you didn't notice is that these here have changed places. These ones have all rotated and changed. So now we do it one more time, and they will all be correctly oriented. And now all the corners are in their correct place and the correct orientation. This is the third pattern that you're going to run into. Again, ignore the edge pieces, just look at the corner pieces. None of them have the correct orientation. None of them are showing up here, right? There's no yellow up here. They're all incorrect. So when determining how to hold for this pattern, you got to hold it so that none of the yellows, or none of the color that you're trying to solve, in this case it's yellow, none of them are showing on one side. And that side becomes your face. So here we have yellow in the center and no yellows in the corners. There's yellow there, there's a yellow there, and there's two yellows here. This is the side we want to be our face. Okay? So you're never doing it this way, you'll end up doing the pattern again and again. So you hold it this way and you do the algorithm. And that brings you to this one right here. And then you just repeat. This is the fourth pattern you could run into, where you have two corners side by side, correctly oriented. And on this case, you do want to look and see where these two are facing. So when they're both facing the same side, that side becomes the front of the cube. All right, so when you see this pattern, if those two are on the same side, the colors that you're looking for are facing the same way, that becomes the front of the cube. And then you do the same pattern from here. And that brings us to this. And then we repeat. This is the fifth pattern that you'll run into, where you have the two corners in place, center, two quarters, this pattern, but instead of these two being highlighted like last time, these two being yellow, the yellow is on the sides. Okay, so this is different than the last one I just showed you. So to solve this one, instead of holding the cube this way, you got to hold it this way. So this pattern, it used to be like an arrow pointing up and saying you rotate that way. Now you turn it on its side. And these two are on the right. The ones that are wrong are on the left. And this becomes the face. So when you see this pattern, again, ignore the edge pieces. When you see this pattern, and the colors you're looking for are on the sides instead of on these sides, you hold it like this, and you do the same algorithm. And now we have only one. Put it up here in the top left. This becomes the face. And one more time. Again, put it in the top left. And now the four bottom corners are in the right place and correctly oriented.